What's going on, y'all? This is John Alsace with the Face Mask Podcast, and today I wanted to do something a little bit different. Now, one thing that we haven't done at all, really, is dig into some of the prospects from this 2021 draft class. Now, this is more of a dynasty pod, just gonna say that outright, because the guy that we're talking about here probably isn't gonna produce for you in any season-long leagues this season. But because of some interesting coach comments that came out this past week, I think we gotta talk about this guy. Because in dynasty, I've gone out and I've gotten this guy for absolutely nothing, as he's been on the waiver wire because he didn't get drafted in the rookie draft, and that's Jacob Harris. Now, who is Jacob Harris? He's a college receiver who's currently transitioning to tight end. He's a raw prospect with a rare combination of size, speed, and leaping ability. He's 6'5", but undersized for a tight end in terms of the weight because he only weighs in at 219 pounds. But along with that comes blazing speed as he runs a 4.39 40. Because of this, the Rams selected him in the 4th round this year. Now, I know it's the dead of offseason and we're talking about unpadded practices, but according to beat writers out of LA, no rookie has garnered more attention through Rams OTAs and minicamp than Jacob Harris. And it recently came out that Rams TE/wide receiver Jacob Harris has become a quote-unquote special project for tight ends coach Wes Phillips and head coach Sean McVay. I believe that's important, specifically for dynasty. Now, he's old for a rookie. He's 24, but apparently he lit up his pro day. He registered a 96th percentile burst score, a 95th percentile speed score, a 99th percentile catch radius, and a Rams scout, Michael Pierce, came out and said Harris is quote-unquote as athletic as Pitts if you look at him as a tight end. Now, that's a bold claim, but if you're not looking at him as a wide receiver and you're purely looking at him as a tight end, it's not completely crazy to think that comparison could be true. Now, after the final practice of minicamp, Sean McVay discussed Harris's impact thus far, and he's explained why he's getting reps with starters while Tyler Higbee has been absent. And I quote, "I think he's just earned it. He's a great addition to that room. I think he's a guy that has tremendous amount of upside, and he's done a nice job of getting up to speed. His natural range, catch radius, body control for a player his size, it's pretty rare. And I think you guys can see, for NFL guys to stand out the way that he's done in some of these limited settings in shorts and helmets, it's definitely made a positive impression. Now, we all understand it's about when you put pads on, how that truly translates. But I think it's because he's earned it, and he's done a great job of improving throughout." There's a lot to dig into there. But for a coach to speak this much about a 4th round wide receiver convert who's already 24, for a coach of Sean McVay's caliber to come out and talk about him this much, it must mean something to him. And that wasn't all of it, because he continued to go on and say, and I quote, "I think the smart thing would be is if he can play a variety of spots, that's going to be the way that he can put the most pressure on people. If he can play as an attached tight end, if he can play in the slot, if he can be detached out wide, that's the kind of skill set he projects to have." But again, we really have to put pads on, because when you look at what he was doing in college, he was basically lined up as a receiver. So being able to transition to the tight end and doing different things that we ask of that spot, there will be a learning curve. And I think he's handled it nicely up to this point. And I'm going to bring up again the fact that they're talking about him this much, because the Rams drafted a tight end last season in the 4th round in Bryson Hopkins. And the majority of people still, a year after he was drafted, have no idea who that guy is, because he did not touch the field at all in his rookie season. And the coaching staff didn't come out and say anything about the guy. Now, Harris, speaking of him as a receiver, he has 2 years of experience as a receiver, and he's caught 39 passes for 987 yards and 9 touchdowns from 2019 to 2020 at UCF. He did get a late start in football. He primarily played soccer at high school, and he was one of the oldest prospects in the draft, but he was also one of the most athletic. In terms of his relative athletic score, out of all wide receiver prospects, wide receiver, not tight end, since 1987, he ranked as the 12th most athletic out of 2,488 wide receiver prospects since 1987, and he's going to be a tight end. Now, he'll need to develop as a blocker in both the running game and in pass protection, but his size and speed allow him to make plays as a receiver. And I think the good thing about Harris's transition to tight end is that he has the athleticism to succeed as a big slot receiver or a wide receiver while he's learning in the ins and the outs of the tight end position. It's not going to be a redshirt year for Jacob Harris. Like Bryson Hopkins' first year in the league was a redshirt year for him because he can bring more to the table. And why am I so hyped? Again, you can get him for free. Super raw, super athletic tight end prospect on a team that has one incumbent and has thus far resisted to give him a full-time role. The Rams just let Johnny Munt, a run-blocking TE, and Gerald Everett, their pass-catching TE, walk in the offseason. Now, Jacob Harris, being a 216-pound rookie tight end convert, is not going to come in and do the dirty work at tight end. I think a lot of the dirty work goes to Tyler Higbee. We already talked about Bryson Hopkins. Now, it's clear that the Rams put an emphasis on stretching the field this offseason. They brought in Deshaun Jackson, Tutu Atwell, and now Jacob Harris. Tutu is a long shot, despite the draft capital, because of his overall physical traits. He projects as more of a Tavon Austin, John Ross type. And Jackson's only good for 2 or 3 games a season if we're to believe history at any point. But the coaching staff want Jacob Harris to work out. We've seen prototype prospects like Darren Waller convert to tight end from wide receiver and blow up. Darren Waller is the ceiling for this guy. He's old for a prospect, but that doesn't quite matter as much for a tight end as it does for wide receivers. And he's free. His ADP is 271. And Dynasty, go and get this guy if he's on your wire. If somebody picked him up, throw a future fourth at him and go and get him. Sit him on the practice squad because the coaching staff seems to really want to believe in this guy, and not just one person, 2 people from the coaching staff. And as a bonus, he has wide receiver and tight end eligibility in certain leagues. So if he were to pop off and he were to hold on to that eligibility, you could be the huge winner and be looking at Darren Waller-like production down the road. And you could have gotten it for free. So what do you guys think? You guys think I'm reading way too much into some coaching comments? You guys think I should chill because it's just the off season? Or are you guys reading into the tea leaves here and buying into Jacob Harris as an undervalued dynasty asset, considering he's not even valued at all? ADP of 271. Put your thoughts in the comment section below if you think I'm completely off on what you think the projection of this tight end room will be. Thank you for listening. This is John Alsace with the Face Mask Podcast. Have a great day.